welcome back to Life After Surviving. I'm Verity and it is my greatest pleasure to have you here with us again. Today's episode we are going to get real deep, so I thought we might as well get comfy. Grab a cuppa. I have a Diet Coke because there's one thing this girl can't live without, it is a Diet Coke. And I'm not here for the Diet Coke slander either, because Diet Coke is the one thing that gets me through. Okay? Want a sweet treat? Have a Diet Coke. Live, laugh, love Diet Coke, you know? We are going to be getting real about something that every survivor struggles with. Everyone struggles with. You go through something life-altering, be it nearly dying or a cancer diagnosis, a car accident, the loss of a family member, you know, something earth-shattering to you. We are going to be talking about what happens next and how do we get through that. I look like I've got a Sula, but I haven't. What happens when your world is completely flipped upside down, and how do you continue going about what was normal and is not normal anymore? How do you redefine what normal looks like to you? Let me tell you, the first thing I'm going to say is there is no guidebook to this. This is everything that I have learned on the way. And I wish there was a guidebook, because it would just make life so much simpler. But life is not easy, as we all have gathered. Life has a different path for each and every one of us. And it's a bit of a whirlwind. No one sits you down and says, here's a guide. Here is how you piece yourself together bit by bit. They just kind of go, okay, you're all better now. See you later. Have fun. Bye. I think honestly, the hardest bit for me wasn't that I died. Wasn't the thought of dying. It was, the hardest part was what happens next. What happens after I survive? What happens when I am no longer the person who I thought I was? How do I deal with what the world is going to say is normal and isn't normal to me anymore? We are going to be talking about how I redefined normal after survival from sepsis, PTSD, my diabetes diagnosis. How losing me helped create me in a whole new way. Let's start with the basic. When you survive, no one tells you this is how you go back to normal. You don't just, it's not like clicking the reset button on a boiler, you know. You can't just turn it off and turn it back on and life becomes the same again, because it doesn't. You have to learn brick by brick, mountain by mountain, how to climb. And I had a quote actually the other day that said, maybe your mountain is higher to climb and tougher to climb because your view is so much more worth it. Maybe you have the best view in the world because your mountain is so much harder to climb. And actually, I'm going to live with that. I'm going to live by that, because actually, yeah, if you have survived and you feel that the world is just crumbling around you constantly, because there is something so much greater to come for you, because your old life, your new life has to cost you your old one. And that was something that I struggled with for a very long time. I was like, right, I don't want to get rid of my life. But I did, because I wasn't the person I wanted to be, and old Verity would not be where she is now. Old Verity probably wouldn't be here now if that was the case. And that breaks my heart and it breaks my soul. It is what it is. It was something I really struggled with. Like, I got out of hospital and suddenly I was supposed to be better. I was supposed to do better. I was supposed to look better. I was supposed to be the same person. And unfortunately, I wasn't that same person anymore. My body may have looked it. It may have had a few extra scars. It may have had a few extra, bruise marks and cannulas. But I wasn't that person anymore. Physically, my body had changed. It was weak, it was exhausted, it was tired. Mentally, I was all over the place. It was no joke. I am not a crier, and I sobbed all the time. I hated being away from my mum. I enjoyed the idea of going back into hospital because it felt comfortable and it felt safe, and it's a part of a world that I never wanted and I never thought I would ever need. But let me tell you, PTSD is no joke. Trauma in itself is no freaking joke. You know, there's the trend going around on TikTok at the moment that's like, you're so funny. And I'm like, there's a study that says those who are linked to trauma are more, there is a higher percentage that go into high endurance sports like running marathons. You know, for me, running 7 marathons doesn't seem so crazy anymore, but once upon a time it did. I was constantly on the fear of the next disaster. What was going to happen next? What happens if next time? And it was always the constant worst case scenario. Oh my god, who am I going to be? What happens if? It was never enjoy the moment, be present. And that in itself is quite heartbreaking, because you spend so much time fighting for your life that you then forget how to be present and how to be in the present. The biggest thing I would say is everyone expected me to be grateful that I was alive, and that's all they could talk about. Oh, but you're alive, so it's fine. No one understood what was going on inside my head, what was going on inside every decision that I made and every aspect of the life I was trying to live, because everyone just told me I should be grateful that I'm alive because somebody else doesn't get that chance. And this is when I think survivor's guilt really kicks in, because, you know, we are talking about people who have the same illness as you haven't survived, or someone who has also gone through something life-altering, be it a car accident or family trauma. You know, someone else has gone through that as well, but they haven't survived it, and everyone automatically tells you you should be grateful you're alive. And now I am so grateful I'm alive, and I love my life and I love living. I love what is my normal now. I love it. I live for it. But then, at the beginning, I couldn't stand it. I didn't want to live. And everyone expected me to want to live. Everyone expected me to just be Verity. And unfortunately, I wasn't that person anymore. So, where do you start on this road to recovery, on this road to redefining normal? Where do you start? Where do we start with redefining this journey, redefining normal? For me, it was a very small step at a time. And if I felt it was too big of a step, I'd do it and I'd step back again. It was 1 step forwards, 3 steps back constantly. And that was okay. And this is your reminder that it is okay to be where you are, and you may not feel like you're making progress, but my goodness, you are, and you will make more progress than you ever think until you are out of the stages. Once you're out of the trenches and you realise just how far you've come, you'll realise how much you've progressed and how much life has changed. But right now, you don't have to feel like that, because it doesn't seem to piece together yet, and that is normal. It is fine. Me, as I've said, it was 1 step at a time. I was tired. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it anymore, and I didn't want to do it again and again and again. But every time, and I said it in an episode with Nat on Typecast, my mum was the reason that I came back stronger every time. I had no energy, I had no confidence, and most importantly, I didn't have any trust in my body. I didn't have any trust in who I was or the thing that housed my organs and the thing that housed me. I didn't have any trust in it. So I started with the basics. I started by going out for a walk on my own, and it felt like I was learning how to walk again. And then I progressed and I started to learn to eat without fear. For me, food has always been quite a big thing. Because of a celiac diagnosis, I was very badly bullied at school, and food has always been a very big thing for me. So to then get another diagnosis where I then had to calculate everything, it weighed heavy, and it made me realise that I had to start again. I had to eat foods that I was comfortable with. I ate a whole load of cheese. I love cheese. I don't have to bolus for cheese. I can just eat cheese on cheese on cheese on cheese. And it was about finding the balance again. I then started to cook, and I then started to bake again, and all these things that used to bring me a bit of happiness started filling that void of darkness with a glimmer of light. And it's like in Harry Potter when Dumbledore says, happiness can be found in the darkest of places if one just remembers to switch on the light. And it's so true. Like, it's just so true. It was finding moments of joy and spending time with people who didn't try and dim my light, but helped my light grow. You know, it doesn't matter who you are who you are. By dimming someone else's candle, it doesn't mean yours is going to burn any brighter. And it allowed me to find joy in the moments of spending time with my mum, or going out and seeing my friends, applying for things that I never thought I would have ever done, filming a TV show, putting myself out there and allowing myself to say yes to more opportunities. And we are going to go into something else, someone who is truly, truly, truly incredible, and we are going to go into that in the next few minutes. The biggest thing for me, I found, was reconnecting with my body, and gets me at the mosh every time, so excuse if there's tears or a little voice crack. This is like one thing that I do get emotional about, and for a very long time I hated my body. I hated what it looked like. I hated how it housed me. I hated everything that it was. And you know, sometimes we still hate it, and that's pretty normal. It's very, very normal to not like us and who we are because of society's expectations and society's idea of what we should be like and how we should act. And you know, I never ate really badly, so I didn't understand why I got all these things and why it was always what we thought was a normal, healthy child, to suddenly someone who can't eat certain things, who doesn't have a working organ, who can't fight an infection. You question why it's you. And for a very long time I hated my body, in the respect that the one thing that's supposed to keep me alive really failed quite a lot of the time. I blamed my body for everything. I blamed it for making me go through hell. I hated it. And this is where it might get a little bit emotional. And this is where the form of art comes in. If you know me, then you know that I did something crazy, wild, wacky for my family. crazy, wild and wacky for me, and that was meeting Sophie Tea bloody art. Big Sophie Tea fans here. We love her. We take no slander, okay? Sophie is the artist. If you ever want to feel something other than hatred, then Sophie is the artist. She is full of love and joy, is unfiltered and unapologetically her. And Sophie posted on Instagram about she was looking for nudies, and I just emailed in, and then she was like, babes, haven't heard from you. And I was like, oh my god, sorry babes, not been very well. And I was like, but I'll be there. And let me tell you, this is one of the moments where I have never felt the way I felt in that day. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. This thing that we did, this, catwalk, it was in Shoreditch in London. We were in a cafe, and the little studio that it was going to be in was literally next door. I met Sarah, Jess, Jordan, Georgina, my best friends for life through this experience. And I have met so many incredible people with incredible stories, and some of them are going to come on in a few weeks, and we're going to have guests, and I'm so excited because these people are the most, oh my god, I'm going to cry, inspiring people that you will ever meet in your life, because it just shows that everyone goes through something and everyone is a survivor of their own mind. And got butt naked in a storage cupboard and just went and stood there like this. I'll see if I can insert some pictures. Yeah, and just got painted by none other than Sophie Tea. We were her muse, and you walked this catwalk in front of thousands of people, but the most inspiring thing about it was how at home it allowed me to feel. Sophie has, I can't talk for everyone, but Sophie allowed me to be everything younger me, healthier me wanted. And this was, she allowed me to know that I may be the same size as someone, but it's going to look different, that my body and my mind was just as worthy as the person next to me. She allowed us to be unapologetically ourselves, and it's so incredibly amazing to watch how her whole nudie journey has evolved and how many women's lives she's changed. I have quite a few pieces of Sophie's now, and I have a heart in my room, and yeah, she's just a legend. I was so sick of hating who I was. I was so sick of constantly fighting in the mirror and never wanting to go shopping, never wanting to wear a bikini, because there were so many things that I hated internally, externally, and I didn't love it the way it needed to be loved and it needed to be nurtured, which meant my mind wasn't loved and nurtured in the same way. So I became a nudie, and my gosh, it brings up a lot of emotions, as you can probably tell. When I first experienced that feeling of being painted, I didn't know how to feel, and then I started talking to Soph, getting to know her and her journey, and knowing that Soph has battled her own mind, and she is truly incredible in everything she does. It was the first time that when I saw my body painted, through everything, it was like everything was buried and I wasn't broken after all. It was something I didn't feel like I had to piece together. I felt like I was whole. Healing wasn't just about my body though. It was about learning how to live again, and let me tell you, PTSD is a bitch. I had to rewire my brain to stop expecting the worst out of every second of every day. It was emotionally exhausting. I had to remind myself over and over again that I wasn't dying, and that right now I was healthy and I was okay, and that it was okay to travel even if it scared me. It was to laugh when the days felt impossible, and it was to laugh at the smallest of things. It was okay to plan for the future, to not have everything set in stone, but to think, okay, one day soon I will. And that hit me when I went to Australia, I won't lie, guys. It wasn't about getting back to normal. It was all about creating a new normal. Redefining normal isn't about going back. It is about creating a new one. It's about moving forward. It's about finding joy in the smallest of things, the kind of joy you used to take for granted. It's about letting go of the lost version of myself and the version of myself that I lost, and making peace with who I am now. Surrounding myself with people who get it, like Nat and Josh and Katie and Soph and Chessie, because I'm Chessie bloody King. What a ledge. Love her. Out surrounding people with you're surrounding yourself with people who don't expect you to be fine, and they, just because you survived, they expect you to feel everything, and they're there for that. It is about honouring my body, and it's about honouring my body instead of resenting it. And honestly, it is about realising that survival isn't the end of the story. And I will talk about Sophie till the cows come home, but when I did so I'm just going to compare. I had the absolute privilege of walking with some amazing people in the London Palladium show and the original show back in 2019, and helping paint at the Waldorf show, and just being there and a part of the journey and getting to know so many people who are now my lifelong friends, because we have bonded over this experience that people don't seem to understand. You talk to someone who is 40 and has never loved themselves. It is about honouring who we are past the imperfections, and Sophie really changed that for me. She really allowed me to live, and everyone would be like, oh, but it's just your body. But no, my body was once something that was so shattered and so broken, I didn't know how I was going to come back from it. Sophie helped rebuild that. She was a part of that puzzle. She was a part of that stepping stone, and all the nudies that you'll ever meet, they have the most inspiring stories. Those who have battled cancer or abusive partners, those who have been severely bullied and or have just never liked who they are, they all have a story of survival, because our biggest reminder is that survival isn't the end of the story. It's the start of a whole new one. It's the start of accepting who you are, and that what you were or who you were doesn't mean that's who you have to be now. I have days where I still look at my body and I think it's broken, because in some respects it is broken and it's something that I have to learn to live with. But now I look and I think, but do you know what? You got me here. 25 in a week, and I look at it and I think, actually, served me pretty well for 25 years. Okay, 5, 6, 7 of those years were a bit touch and go. But we're here, and the most important thing for me about redefining normal is how I look at things and how I value them. And most importantly, how I value myself. And that's why I felt like I really had to talk about the Sophie Tea and the Nudie experience, because it's not often you get butt naked, covered in paint, with like 50 women and 20 women in a storage cupboard, you know? It is the start of your whole new story, and redefining normal is the start of our whole new story of who we are in the chapters to come next. If you are in that weird little space that is confusion and anger, happiness, you are in the weird space right now where you've survived something but you don't feel like you anymore, just know this, that it is absolutely okay to grieve who you were. And it's a big thing that people don't talk about, is allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to be angry and frustrated and hurt and upset and sad that the person you were is no longer here. It's normal. That version, that version of you deserved that love too, and they deserve that honour because they got you here, and they deserve that love just as much as the new you deserves all the love you can give it. It's okay to have absolutely fuck all, nothing figured out, because nobody does. Everyone is faking it till they make it. It's okay to create a life that looks totally different to the one you thought you were going to have. I thought I would be married with a house, with a car, with a degree, with a 9-to-5 job by 25. I thought I'd have 4 kids by 30. And 25-year-old me next week will also say absolutely not to any of that. No 9-to-5s for me. I don't have a boyfriend, I don't have a partner, I have never had a partner, and that is okay. And it's okay to think back to the life you thought you were going to have and realise that you don't have any of it, because it's okay to create a totally new life. Because the life I have now genuinely is the happiest I have ever been in my entire 25 years of being on this earth. I don't want to be anyone else than I am right now. And it is all about enjoying the process of becoming rather than begging for the person you want to be. Enjoy the process. Survival changes you, and it's not a bad thing. Survival is just the beginning. The real journey is learning how to live again, one life, and nobody makes it out alive. So focus on you and do what you want to do and whatever makes you happy, and forget the judgment, because honestly, no one cares. Redefining normal is not a straight path. It is messy, it is emotional, and sometimes it is exhausting, but it is also beautiful, and it's filled with new opportunities and new strengths and new moments new joys. Thank you for being here with me today. In our next episode, we're going to be talking about how rediscovering joy and finding happiness after trauma. Until then, take a deep breath and remind yourself that it is okay to be exactly where you are right now. If this episode resonated with you, then please share it, subscribe, like, comment, share it with all your friends, and let's keep this conversation going. I would love for some guests, so if you have a story of survival, then please drop me an email or a message if you would love to come and talk about how surviving and life has shaped you into who you are and where you want to be and where you are heading. Until then, keep redefining your normal.